What's up, guys? Welcome to the very first video newsletter. This is something different that I wanted to do, but I wanted to try. Everyone does written newsletters with links, and I've tried like 100 different formats for this newsletter, and the few of you who've made it through the almost decade-long iterations and starts and stops and fits that have come, that have been this newsletter that I tried to do, have seen me try a bunch of different things. The Sunday 7, which was 7 links. I've tried just sending out the articles as I publish them. I've tried writing unique content for every newsletter that only went out through the newsletter. I've tried doing little synopsises. I've tried just about every format of newsletter that you possibly could have. And none of them have seemed to stick. I get on a roll and they seem to do well, and then I just let them go, or they become too much extra work, and I've just never really found a good cadence for the newsletter. But I do believe that this newsletter should be a conversation. I think that's always what's bothered me about the newsletter, is its lack of back and forth. It doesn't present a tremendous forum for us to have a real conversation. And that's why I came up with this idea for a video newsletter. And what I mean by that is I want to dial down the number of emails you get from me. So that was overwhelmingly the response that I got from last week. I had sent out an email asking you about frequency and stuff like that. Got a tremendous response from that, and overwhelmingly it was, dial it down. 1 email a week would be preferable, and that's what this is going to be. I then thought, do I want to just do another text-based email? There's so many of those, and there's so many of them people that do it better than me. Ann Hanley, Tamsin Webster, Scott Monty. Those are just a couple of people who do newsletters that are just more well thought out, more diverse and robust and cheeky and funny and value add. And while I don't necessarily think that I couldn't do that, I don't know that it's what I want to do. However, I do love doing video. I love talking to you guys, and I like that when I do video, you seem to respond more. I get more comments, I get more feedback, and that's really what I want this to be. So the idea here is pretty simple. I want to keep these to 5 to 7 minutes tops a week. I know for some of you that might be long, for others of you, maybe it won't be long enough, who knows. This first one's probably, I'm assuming, going to run a little longer, but the core idea here is I really want it to be a place for us to have a conversation. So I'm going to post these on YouTube as unlisted videos, which means that they can be found by the public, but you would have to share them with other people, which again is fine, obviously. But every week you'll get an email from me. That email will have a video. I want you to click through, hopefully watch the video, and then we'll have links to all the stuff that we talk about. I have a few things that I want to talk about here with you today, ideas that I want to share with you, kind of set the core of what this will be, and then hopefully YouTube comments and whatever you'll be able to converse. We'll be able to talk back and forth, and if you have your own channels, we can do videos where we talk back and forth about things. I think video, and in particular YouTube, is a platform that has tremendous potential, and that if doing this weekly conversation can help get some value in front of you, get some of the things that I read and consume and ideas that I have in front of you in a way that maybe is a little more meaningful. I can give you a little more context on some of the ideas that I have, share some resources with you, things that I use, and then give you a forum to communicate, ask more questions and stuff, and do that specifically for subscribers. That seems like a win for me. So that's what this is. You're obviously, if you're watching this right now, you're watching on YouTube. Hopefully you'll subscribe to my channel for the stuff that I put out into the public as well, which is great. If you don't, that's perfectly fine too. I just want to thank you for being a subscriber. And any questions, comments, thoughts, guys, you have to be subscribing to this newsletter for a reason. It can't just be so that you get another piece of email. That would be bananas. So what can I help you with? I take the time to sit down and produce content for you every week. I want it to be valuable for you. Sometimes it's stuff that's really just for me. I'm talking to myself, and that's probably obvious when that's the case. But other times, like with the piece of content that I did this week, 4 ways to create insurance content that's relevant educational and entertaining. That was specifically for you guys. That came from a question from one of you, from Alan Drew, who owns the Alan Drew Insurance Agency. He asked a very specific question, and I tried to give him a very specific answer. You can watch that video. I'll have it right here, or I'll have it linked up in the show notes below. So that's this video newsletter. We'll see how this goes. I'm super interested in it. I just want to see if it works. And if you know other people that you think would like this, or you're interested, feel free to share it with other people. I mean, obviously that it helps me because more people see what I'm doing and become part of our ecosystem. But if you think the content is valuable, feel free to share away. So that's what it's all about. The ideas that I want to share with you today are something that I've been thinking a lot about. And it's, how do you mix philosophy and business? And I don't mean like business philosophy. I mean actual ancient philosophical ideas and really the pursuit of knowing who we are and why we are into business. So that kind of fluffy philosophy, I think that some people gloss over because they feel like it's a lot of just talking head, rhetorical questions that don't actually add much value. How do we mash that, which obviously I feel has tremendous value, with the real tactical nature of growing your business, of growing whatever it is that's meaningful to you, that helps you provide for your family or helps you create a better life? Like, how do we mash those two things together? Because I believe that it is the individuals who take the time to think on, ponder these deeper philosophical questions and find ways to apply them to their business life and to their everyday life. I feel like it's those individuals that are ultimately the ones who are standing out. And I think oftentimes they don't talk about it as much, but the deeper I get into just researching and talking to people who are very successful, they spend time thinking of these topics. So that kind of has mirrored my own experience. You probably see that in some of the things that I create, even some of like the health things, and when I wrote about the anti-inflammatory diet and stuff like that. Like, it's pondering some of these life questions has helped me be better in business, unequivocally. And I just wanted to share some of those thoughts with you. So a book that I'm currently reading, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, probably one of the better philosophy books that I've ever read. It was most recently popularized by Ryan Holiday and his work into Stoicism. He has 3 books on it: Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy, and his most recent book, Stillness is the Key. I've read all 3 of them. All 3 are tremendous. I'll have those linked up below. I also have a link to this book if you want. This is the Gregory Hayes translation. What I like about it is he does a fairly lengthy introduction, which helps set the stage for who Marcus was and what was going on at the time, the influences on Marcus's life, and what this book actually is, because it's not a traditional book. Marcus Aurelius never actually meant for this book to be published. These are really his personal thoughts, journaling, things that these were the things that he wrote down to help himself, to help be the best version of himself. Obviously the emperor of Rome for a large portion of his life, and one of the last great emperors of Rome. And though he had a very complex and contrarian life, I guess you could say, there was parts of his life very philosophical, very philosophical, very endearing, very admirable. He also was a war chief to a certain extent, and war and conquering other lands, and was a big part of who he was as well. So very, very interesting individual. But there's some really interesting takeaways from this book that, I have the thing, I don't know if you can see, but I mark my books up like crazy, but there's just blue ink and notes all over this, because I think there's so many things that we can take out. One of the sections that I found to be very intriguing was actually in book 2. There's 12 books inside this book, I guess. And was the idea of aimlessness and having a purpose. And in book 2, item 7, he writes, "People who labor all their lives but have no purpose to direct every thought or impulse towards are wasting their time. even when hard at work. I think this speaks to a lot of what we find ourselves doing every single day. We find ourselves working hard, efforting, stressing, putting tension on our body, on our mind, yet we're not actually operating with a true purpose, with a true kind of North Star. We're not efforting towards something. We're just getting things done. And this is it really, to me, I find it incredibly, I don't know what the right word is, but I find it so interesting that here's a man who's running the Roman Empire and 2,000 years ago, and he's literally having the same exact thought, because I know every one of you watching this has had this thought. You know, you're doing something and you're like, I'm just doing this work and it's not getting me anywhere, and I really want to be doing this thing over here, or well, I don't have enough time to do this thing that I really want to do. I just end up doing this stuff, which feels like busy work. And he's pondering that same thought. And later in the book, and this is what I wanted to share because I think it shows how thoughtful Marcus Aurelius really was, or at least how these same ideas impacted him. This is book 5, item 9. He says, not to feel exasperated or defeated or despondent because your days aren't packed with wise and moral actions. So, you know, though these two thoughts aren't necessarily directly related in terms of the narrative of the book, and the book actually has no narrative because it's just a journal, I do think they show, he's showing you the path that our actions, as closely as we can, should mirror the purpose in which we're driving towards. In Stoic, or the Stoic philosophy, they call this the logos. And this, to me, I find interesting that he is at one time saying your work has to have purpose, that that as much as you can, as hard as you can, be aligned to a purpose, not just doing work. Even if you are putting max effort into that work, if the work doesn't align with your purpose, then it is essentially meaningless. That being said, we can't create additional stress or tangential stress because we didn't pack our entire day with purpose-driven work. So he is at one time giving us the path that we need to take, and at the same time saying no one is going to be perfect, and you're always going to have moments where what you're trying to achieve or what you're actually doing isn't in no way pushing forward your higher purpose, your higher goal, that thing that you're ultimately working for, and to not create additional stress and tension because of that. So I think that's an idea that is very near and dear to the heart of our current modern society, is that there's so much going on, there's so much to do, that whatever we believe our true purpose to be, it is oftentimes hard to fill our day with the actions that push that purpose forward. We need to work as hard as we can to create more opportunities to do things that push that purpose forward. But in the moments where we're just getting work done and work that isn't aligned with our purpose, that we shouldn't create additional stress or tension on our lives because of those actions. So it's an interesting thought. It is amazing to me that a guy 2,000 years ago was thinking through these same ideas. I don't know why it would be different, but it just, it feels like, sometimes I think we feel like we would be so detached from the life, and in many ways we would be, that this individual Marcus Aurelius lived, or that ancient Romans lives, but really at our core, we're so similar, and I think it should give us strength, it should give us confidence and courage to know that these things that we're dealing with every day, we're not alone in dealing with them. And if you can find a purpose, an ideal, a cause worth efforting towards, that maximizing your actions every day that push that cause forward is the best thing that you can do, but that to not stress when that isn't the case. Guys, thinking about this kind of stuff, I hope this is interesting to you. I'd love to know what questions you have. This newsletter will be tactical at times, maybe a little more philosophical at others. Ryan Holiday actually has a tremendous reading course available. I'm going to put it in the show notes below. It's not an affiliate link or anything like that. I paid for this course. It's $40. It's called Read to Lead, a daily Stoic reading challenge. It's basically 13 emails, 13 lessons on how to read, how to capture more value out of the things we read, how to read more. And I'm just a firm believer in reading. I read for the first hour that I woke up today. I woke up at 5 a.m. I read till 6:05 when my son Duke got out of bed. So it's helped move me forward as a person, as a father, as a leader, as a creator, as a value provider, hopefully someone providing value to you. It's just helped me be better every day. I'll give you a case in point. I'm buying a house. Hopefully sometime in the next 2 weeks. The guy we're buying the house from has been screwing around with the closing date, and he doesn't understand, causing major problems, and it's been potentially causing a lot of stress. And I've been walking my wife through some of the things that I find in here and other books that I've read, and letting her know that, what I said to her today was all we have is this moment. We can't impact what he does, and we certainly can't impact the things he said in the past. So let's just understand that it's going to happen. When it happens, we'll be ready for it, and let's just be in this place right now and move forward with our day instead of stressing about this idiot who's giving us a hard time. That's an idea that I didn't have 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I would have been like, F that mother effer, let's go get him. I don't know what we would have got. He's 3 times my size and beat the crap out of me. But the idea is I would have carried tension and anxiety 2 years ago, but all the reading I've done during that time has helped bring me a little closer to finding, just being able to relieve the stress a little bit. So this has been way longer than 5 minutes, but I hope it adds value to you. I'd love to know what you're thinking about, what's on your mind. What books are you reading? Leave them in the comments below. Guys, let me know what you think about this format. I'm sure some of you will watch the whole video, some of you won't watch the whole video. If you keep watching, I'm going to have some links to other videos that you can watch. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you share this with friends. Hopefully you won't unsubscribe from the newsletter because I'm doing video emails. But if you do, it's all good in the hood. I love you guys. Thank you for watching this. I'm out of here. Have a great week. Peace.